Yo.
What's going on?
Tonight we got Trav on the old pod. Or today we got Trav on the old pod. We're recording somewhat at night now that it's getting dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it screws up my freaking deer hunting after work. I can't go deer hunting now because it gets too dark early.
I know, it sucks. There was that one day that I snuck out there, but it was only for like an hour and a half or whatever, but it sucks now. Absolutely sucks. But tonight we're going to be talking, or switching up gears, I guess, a little bit. Or today, while you're listening, we're going to be switching up gears a little bit and talking about more of deer hunting aspect of everything, because today, or when this is dropping, is opening day of gun season for us in Michigan here. So we'll talk a little bit about our bow season. This is my first year back in 5-6 years of deer hunting, and I guess Trav's first year on the new piece of property. So I guess you want to start off with that, Trav, the new house and new property and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, Kyle has a little bit of can attest to this, but being on a new piece of property, it is definitely difficult to deer hunt. I mean, I feel like on the side of like waterfowl hunting, I mean, hunting a new property is pretty easy to figure out the pattern of the birds after a couple hunts or a couple weeks of scouting and stuff like that. But deer hunting is a whole new beast when it comes to new properties.
Yeah,
I
think
am
we're kind
still
of both dealing with that this year.
What'd you say?
I said I think we're kind of both dealing with that this year. I mean, not that I know that we're both dealing with that this year for sure.
Yeah, it's been a weird hunting this year with, I mean, hunting at my parents' place, been hunting there forever and knowing the ins and outs of everything, where the deer are moving or where they're going to be at in certain times of the year. This year has just been a curveball to me, where it's been learning on the fly, getting permission for other properties around me to try to broaden my chances. And it's just, I mean, it makes it more difficult because you have more property to hunt, which means the more chances of you seeing those deer on your camera, but then also not being in that same spot, which is tough.
Right.
But I mean, it's been for a first year property. I mean, I don't see the deer that I do at my parents' house, but I've been seeing a lot of deer. I mean, as in the buck standpoint, where I've been seeing good 2-year-old bucks that need one more year. I got I got 2 3-year-olds that's on my target list. But they just have been ghosts, So actually, it was kind of funny. The big one actually showed up at noon, which would be Tuesday.
Did you really?
He showed up today. Yeah, at noon.
We haven't got anything lately on camera wise, and I talked to one of the farmers that we used to hunt his property. They were actually, me and Sid went out. What day was that? Saturday night, I think it was, after I got back from the Verizon store after
losing your phone.
Yeah, I lost my phone in the duck hole. Great hunt, but bad day for me. But
for content, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. Like, no, I have nothing. I don't have pictures of anything. I'm trying to log back into stuff, and I can't get on anything at all. It sucks. But we got out there late, and he was seeing the same deer that we were seeing. Obviously, it's like we butt up to the property and stuff, but he's saying the same thing. He hasn't been getting a lot of deer on camera either, which I don't know how often they hunt over there, which I'm going to be kind of, I don't know. I'm really wondering how tomorrow morning's going to go for me. I mean, this is the first year in a long time that I've taken time off. Well, probably since, honestly, high school, probably. That I was.
So the last time I remember you deer hunting was like freshman year of college. Was the last time, or maybe even sophomore year.
Was it that long?
Was last, because I remember we used to shoot bows and stuff all the time over at your parents' place over there.
Okay. But maybe it was then. But it's. I mean, I guess the whole thing is like taking time off or skipping school for a couple days or whatever it is. This is the first time that I'm taking damn near a week off. And hopefully going to hunt hard, but I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air with that property over there. And I guess maybe I can explain it to you a little bit with over pressuring it, because it's not a big piece of wood. It's just a wood lot. Well, we're hunting the field edge, but there's not a lot of woods there. What did I just say that wrong?
I mean, I know what you're saying,
I feel like
because you've explained to me before, but maybe for the listener, you're hunting a wood lot in between a bunch of fields.
So yeah, I'm not even hunting the woods really. I'm hunting field lines is what I meant to say, with one big wood lot on the square mile, I guess you want to say. And the problem is the city's so close, and I feel like those deer bouncing back and forth, and maybe we're putting too much scent out there, and it's a whole new learning curve for me getting back into this whole deer hunting aspect of everything.
Well, and that's the tough part too with deer hunting is those deer during the rut. Because I mean, you've have some nice deer on camera, or you had nice deer on camera
Right.
earlier in the year. Which deer, I think there was a study done, or someone had a deer collared, and deer sometimes travel up to like 10 miles during the rut in any given time. So it's like those deer, since it's your first time hunting this lot of property, is like those deer could be there early fall and then they're gone almost all of the rut. They're leaving to go find does. Because you said you haven't seen much does. They're
Actually,
going to
they
find
started
does.
showing up. That's the crazy part, and they're not. So like yesterday or 2 nights ago, I moved the camera around, and the first day I put it on that scrape. I think I told you about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day the buck came back, I think it was like a decent 8-point, which for me, I've never shot nothing even that size. So I don't know. It's hard not to pull the trigger on that, but it's also easy not to pull the trigger on it when I know the quality of deer over there. And I know that the neighbors are shooting the same thing where it's like they're waiting for the bigger ones. Not where I used to hunt and they would shoot everything that walks, so it's easier on that standpoint. But last night I think yesterday I moved the camera again, and I think we had 3 does show up last night on camera and a bunch of turkeys actually, and we haven't had turkeys on the other camera. I think maybe once, but yeah, we got a bunch of toms and hens on camera today. But no bucks on it, which is surprising with the rut going on. I mean, how far do you think we are along with the rut, I guess, as of right now? Or what are you seeing over there on that side?
We're probably getting to the latter stages of the rut, I would say, at this point in time, because usually that rut, you get your pre-rut late October, like that last week in October, you'll start seeing some bucks start to rut a little bit, and then that first week of November into pre-gun hunting season is when they hit it hard. Like this past weekend, probably just for some areas would be like their best time of deer hunting because they're running hard. And then after that week or week and a half stretch, you start to get that post rut where all those hot does are starting to be bred already.
So
I mean, like in my area, which has been like, I have not seen a single deer chase. Like, I mean, the last 3 sits, I've seen a combined like 2 deer. So it's kind of a weird, like where we're learning our properties where I don't know, like I might not see any bucks rut at all. Like, I don't know where they're going to rut. Like, I got does. It's just, I don't know where the bucks are at, which is kind of the same situation you're in right now.
Right. Well, and the good thing is for me right now is the corn that's in the field is going to be one of the last cornfields cut by the farmer, and all the other cornfields are cut. So I still have a good hide for the deer, comfort zone for the deer. So it should attract the deer back into that area, I would assume. But,
which could also be screwing you in the sense of where if that corn is still standing, that's probably why you're not seeing much deer. Is because those deer are working that corn, and they're not coming out into that edge of the field, edge of the woods. Because if they're not bedding in there, they're going somewhere else to bed.
Yeah, and I know a couple of deer moved across the street or across the road from us because I've seen a couple of them, and I've had some buddies that have seen them as well. But it's all, like I said, it's all about learning the properties and stuff like that. I mean, we're so close to the city, so you really never know what you're going to see on a sit out there, which is the nice part about it. Because I mean, earlier in the year, we had some pretty good bachelor groups out there of some good bucks. I mean, I would say we're right around 10, 15 different bucks that we've had on camera this year. That's just what we've seen in that one spot, you know, we only got one camera out there, but I don't know. I think we talked about it. I think yesterday, or the night before. I think 3 years you'll start to get a understanding of a property jumping onto it because, you know, with your new property with crops around the area or whatever it may be and stuff, I think with the farmers flopping them around, you know, it's going to change up a lot of stuff for deer movement in the area.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like we talked about over the phone, it was like the beans versus corn, where the in the corn, those deer are going to bed in there. They're going to hang out in there. If they got a water source nearby, they probably won't leave that corn
Right.
really at all. Where whether it's beans, they're not going to be out in those beans 24/7. They're going to be in the woods. They're going to be doing this. They're going to be doing that. So I mean, with the corn with you is like, I mean, you think about some of those big areas where it's all corn. Is like people don't see a lot of deer when the corn's up, and I think that's what your problem is that all that corn was still standing up until, I mean, the last couple of weeks. That corn started to slowly come down. So now once that corn comes down, you start seeing deer having to move more because they can't just hang out in that corn.
Right.
So,
And like I said, that's the kind of a thing where I'm not mad about the corn being up at our property just because it should, you know, attract the deer to our side of the property compared to corn. I mean, we basically almost had corn surrounding the woodlot this year.
yeah.
So it was tough. But now that three quarters of it is down, you know, I feel like that's going to help out a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think once that corn starts coming down, you're going to start seeing more and more deer. I think that's just inevitable.
I hope so. But I mean, another big thing is for us anyway, too. And I'm sure that you had some sits or some stands the same way. Like some of like we sat that blind, me and Lauren sat that blind Sunday. And the way we set that blind up was kind of crappy because, you know, we have two lanes down each side of the corn. One lane's going north on the back side of the property and one's going east. Well, we couldn't even see all the way down that east lane right there. So, I mean, how many deer are we missing? Because like I said, we only had that one camera out there.
Mm-hmm.
So how many deer are we actually missing, you know, walking in and out of that corner, in and out of the woods or whatever it is? Now that I got the blind moved over, I mean, literally all we needed was 5 more feet. And we would have been able to see all the way down. With gun season now, you know, I should be pretty good. You know, the stands, it's tough too because we're limited to how much woods we can actually get into. I think we're only allowed like 20 yards into the woods maybe. So it's not like I got a bunch of spots where I can sit or play the wind or whatever it is. So it makes it tough. I almost, you know, the over hunting kind of starts getting in your head a little bit as well.
Yeah, which I'm surprised with you with how much you move decoys. I'm surprised you're not moving stands around 24/7 too.
It's been tempting. But I think I learned my lesson with moving decoys after I lost my dang phone last weekend.
You need to put get one of those, like, you know, people have those like chains for their wallets. You have a chain for your phone.
Yeah, that's what my dad told the guy at Verizon. He's like, well, see if we can get a floating case. Even, I mean, out of all places too, I think we hunted.
That was the worst spot to lose a phone.
Yeah,
you're hunting flooded corn,
right?
Or like a flooded pond in the middle of a cornfield.
Right.
You're not finding that phone.
Great hunt, like I said, but it's just terrible. We actually had a buck walk up on us and had buck was just staring at us the entire time. Just, I actually went up to the truck to look for my phone, thinking that maybe I left it up there, or hoping I left it up there, and not knowing it. But Buck watched me walk to the truck and walk all the way back, and I think he got within 50 yards of the hide that we had, and no care in the world. Just sat there and stared at us. Little basket, like 4-point.
He knew it was safe.
Yeah, right. And that's the funny thing, though, too. It's like, you know, when you start bird hunting a little bit, these deer hunters, which I understand, but they're like, oh, we don't want you out there shooting a bunch of birds or whatever when we're, you know, it's deer season. It's like, listen, dude, I can't tell you how many deer that I've seen and big bucks that I've seen bird hunting compared to deer hunting. Like, it's stupid.
I mean, because if you're in an area where the deer want to be at, they're going to be in there too. They're going to have their space, of course. But I mean, like you said, like I've seen really nice bucks waterfall hunting. I mean, they're not going to be there after you get done shooting, of course. But
See,
I mean,
this one,
if you're in that area, those deer are going to come back to that area. You know, they want to be in that place.
See,
you know,
the one big one that I sent you of, I had it on my old phone, the picture of him. He was making a scrape after we were done shooting and packing up everything.
Yeah.
And then the one Saturday, we shot ducks for the first, I don't know, hour and a half of daylight, and he still came out afterwards. Like they know that they're no harm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, there's a little bit of myth with it, but there also, I mean, there's a little bit of truth with. I mean, like if you're walking around stuff like that, I mean, deer aren't going to be out there. But if you're in your blind with decoys out, I mean, I don't know how many times I've had deer come out on us.
Right.
You know,
right.
when you're just sitting in the blind. You know, so
that's I don't know. That's a thing even with like bird hunting and deer hunting now. Getting back into it, wise like overthinking a lot of stuff, which I wish I obviously didn't do. But I always overthink of, you know, ways to walk in and do this, do that. Why am I doing this? Why am I sitting here compared to there? You know what I mean? It's just all, I don't know. There's a million different things that go on in my head with all of that stuff. Like I always feel like I do too much compared to what I actually just need to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which, I mean, could be a blessing and a curse, you know, like the blessing part is, you know, like the scent control aspect, making sure you're walking the right way, which can change throughout the course of the year, which when you learn that property, because you could be walking in a certain way now, but now after you've hunted it for a couple months, you're like, I probably shouldn't walk in that way because the deer walk that path in and they're going to smell my tracks walking in, you know?
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I think with both of us right now is on the property side of things is we're still very fresh with our hunting property. So, I mean, there's still a good chance we're going to kill a deer, but in 2 years, we're going to have a better chance of knowing where those deer are going to be at and not having to take until rifle season to kill that thing.
Right.
So,
and that's the thing too. I think even next year for me and my dad and Lauren, I think I might try to get some more properties now, just so we don't have to pressure the deer on that property with it being, because I mean, there's not a lot of just hard woods around our area. I mean, you've been over here. There's more of just, you know, fields, and that's it. And they're just using it as like, and I can't even say that because I even go back to like even the shed hunting. I mean, I think I found 7 sheds in that one piece of property last year. And there's so much different things going on. Like I don't know what kind of, land that you have over there, but I got creeks in the woods. I got good bedding. I got there's one, I don't know, we'll say 10 acres of just a bunch of blown over trees. Like I feel like that'd be great bedding for them. Like just, get out of the wind. We got a thicket. We got a pond in there. But mind you, this is probably, I'll say 50 acres, maybe more than 50 acres, but we got a lot of good habitat for the deer. But like I said, it's just getting back into the whole deer hunting aspect for me that I got to kind of look into it more. And just, I guess the same way I took it to waterfowl, the same way I took to waterfowl with like watching these videos and stuff and learning and stuff like that. I need to do the same with deer because I feel like so much has changed since I've actually deer hunted.
Well, there's so many new technologies out there now where that help with it. I mean, and then probably the last time you deer hunted, you could bait too. So, I mean, this is a whole new avenue for deer hunting where you'd want to, you hunting more of a lease style hunting, you probably can't put too many food plots and stuff like that, but you're hunting over agriculture. So you have those already built in already, but you're going to be trying to target those transfer areas where they're coming from their bedding to that food source, Right. So,
and that's one thing next year I think that we're going to do, which we'll talk about it a little bit on your standpoint too. I talked about the 2 lanes that we have. I think I'm going to try to do more of a food plot down the 2 lanes, like going on that east shooting path or whatever, and going north, like towards the blind, which the only thing that scares me with that is the fact of it's such a skinny, and I mean, it's probably 10 yards wide, which also makes it very hard to hunt because, with the tree stands and the leaves off of the trees and stuff nowadays, or like now, it's hard because they come out of the corner, they're right on top of you. You can't even move. They're right there. But with it being so skinny of a pathway both ways, I don't even know if it would be worth it for food plots and stuff just because of the fact that they might eat that out before it even grows.
That's where you'd almost want to put it in, like right before, like you put some rye or something just to be green. So after that corn's cut or the beans are cut and they eat that out, they have something green to munch on to come back to. Even though, I mean, those deer will be in that corn all year long. I mean, I probably wouldn't do any food plots because you're hunting those big plots of corn and beans and stuff like that. I just think it'd be a waste of money. I think you'd be more apt into going the more scouting route and trying to figure out where those access points for those deer are to come into those fields. And
that's the hard part too, because like for us, like I sat there the other night or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was and sat there and I was like, well, I wonder why this guy had a old ground blind right here in an old tree stand that, I mean, it was back, I don't know how long ago, but, when they were literally sitting on just pallets up in the trees. They'd make 2x4 ladders going up to the tree and stuff. So, I mean, it's obviously an older tree stand. But why they set it there compared to over here? And then, you know what I mean? So they obviously, I'm trying to like learn off of like the person that used to hunt the property, which was, God, over 5 years, I'm going to assume. But why they hunted this way compared to the way that we're hunting? You know what I mean? Was it just pressure with the way that we got to walk in compared to the way that he could have walked in? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've been finding the same way out with mine because the guy left some stands up and, it was like in weird spots and like, I don't know why he has stands here. But then after like seeing some of the deer activity, I'm like, yeah, that's probably why he has deer because there's deer that work through there, or now I can see there's a hard beaten trail down there and stuff like that. So, I mean, going back to those, I mean, where I do a lot of my scouting time is during the winter time when there's snow on the ground. You can actually see a lot of the trails and stuff better than you could when there's no snow, and seeing where those deer trails are coming into those food sources to then be able to know where to put those stands at next year. Because, I mean, those deer are going to move through there all year long like that.
I mean, I talked about like the food plot with me wise. You really don't think it'd be a good idea with that though? Like even just try to get the deer in there more because I mean there is a lot of acorns. But what is the rumor with the acorns or the truth behind the acorns? Do they drop every other year real good or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not really. I mean, I know there are some years where they drop more than others. I don't know the science behind it. I think a lot has to do with like that spring and the weather and stuff like the frost and stuff like that. I mean, I think in some cases they drop acorns every year. It's just the amount of acorns. Same thing with like your crab apples and stuff like that. It's just some years you'll get a crap ton of apples. In some years they have a bad spring where there's a frost and stuff like that. You're not going to get that type of crop you would in years past,
Right. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's so tough because even like for me in the wintertime, I know what I found, I guess, later in the year, which is, we'll start shed hunting February time and stuff. And lately we haven't been getting a lot of snow. I mean, it's been, 2-3 years since we got a lot of snow? 2 years,
I mean,
maybe?
I think, last year, you remember last year when we had a ton of snow on our side of the state and then you guys had no snow?
Which isn't that weird, though? Because, like, with us being on the lakeside over here, you think it'd be the polar opposite.
I mean, it's with those winds coming off Lake Michigan, you get those lake effect snows more than you would over in the Detroit area.
I guess you're right. Yeah, I don't know. What about like your? Well, I guess let's bring in the like your side of the food plots? Like you know, you bought this property this year. What was the first thing that you were looking towards or looking at when you bought that property and was looking at the woods and stuff?
So for me, I mean, I was looking at something affordable, of course, you know, with everything nowadays with the market having a good house, then also having property, because in today's times you're buying the house or you're buying the property.
Right.
That's the big thing now. But this one had 10 acres. I mean, it's property that wasn't very well maintained. It's very overgrown. I mean, the guy deer hunted it. I mean, it's got a lot of upsides just having to do that work for it. I mean, it's got the swamp, it's got the agriculture around it, it's got bedding, it's got all the stuff you want to see in a property. It's just fine tuning it, like making it so it's huntable. You know, because some of the spots, the guy had to stand up in a spot where you couldn't shoot 2 feet without clearing out multiple trees for shooting lanes. So it's like, why do you have to stand here? You know? So now it's going through, and like this spring, I have a whole map of what I want to do to the property, where I want to put in food plots. I want to put in some apple trees and try to get deer in certain areas where I don't see a lot of deer now, but I know deer work through there. It's just getting them in there for a solid amount of time, you know, instead of just passing through at midnight, you know, they want to be there at daylight.
Right.
So
now
that's the biggest thing.
What's like, when you're looking at your property of 10 acres, which obviously 10 acres is it 10 acres of woods, or is the whole property 10 acres?
10 acres of whole property is 10 acres. So I probably have 7 acres I could hunt with the houses and the front yard and stuff like that.
So with looking at 7 acres, what's doing too much? Because obviously you want to start shooting clearing lanes out. You want to, like you said, plant apple trees and stuff, and you can't have those being suffocated with, you know, the undergrowth and stuff. What's like too much to clear out? You know what I mean? Like you obviously don't want to clear out everything.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is not clearing out enough to where they're not going to feel comfortable being in there. So knowing from having done a little bit of scouting I've done, I know there's bedding areas there. It's just not on my property. So there's bedding areas to the north, and there's bedding areas to the south, which being cattails, all that kind of stuff. So
that's good then.
Knowing those areas and not going in there and just blowing those areas out. So I have a couple spots where I want to go in and make food plots, and then spots where I had food plots this year where I don't want to put food plots next year, just because it was just a waste of time to do that.
Yeah, but it kind of goes back to like your first year there. So I mean, it could be better later in the year compared to now too. You never know.
True. Like the one of the spots where I have a food plot that was the first one I did when the guy left me his tractor for 2 weeks to dig around with. The last 2 nights I've came out and there's been deer in that food plot, and I've been just totally sleeping on this spot because it's right behind the house, right behind the pole barns, and I'm like, there's not gonna be any deer back here unless it's midnight, you know, when it's dark, after dark. But then after, you know, going on Onyx, using those tools and seeing like, okay, there's a big transfer area through the woods where it's just all woods, and then it gets to my piece of property where then it opens up into agriculture. So it's like, crap, that's actually a pretty good spot. I don't know why I'm not hunting that spot. So it's just like you said, knowing the property better. You know, that's the biggest thing. Not sleeping on certain areas, and just because you don't think it might not, just because you don't think it's going to be a good spot doesn't mean it isn't. You know. And
I feel like there's a thing too with like even closer to the houses wise, it's almost like a comfort thing for those deer in a sense.
Yeah.
Obviously depending on you know, the pressure that those deer are getting, because like the property that we had, the house just sold in front of it, and before the people moved in, you know, we would park right at the house and walk back or do whatever we had to do back there, and there was rubs right in the guy's backyard, like giant rubs right in the backyard. You know, it's just, I feel like it's almost like a comfort level thing, and especially in an area like mine anyway, those deer don't have, I mean, they just roam everywhere. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. Like there's not a lot of woods, and there's tracks just, I mean, you could just see them running back and forth on the road all the time, and there's just these little pockets of woods, and I feel like they're just jumping constantly.
Yeah. Well, that's different for you, where you don't have a ton of woods, and you're jumping from a woodlot to fields for a long ways, and then it's woodlot again. Is those deer could be out of that woodlot and they'll be gone for weeks on, which I think you're finding out now, where all those deer you had early season, they probably jump to a different woodlot and they might be gone the other direction, a ton of miles and then they come back in the summer, that's where their summer months are spent there, so.
And that's what's funny too, because even when I was talking to the farmer, because they were actually combining the corn or selling the corn when we walked out there on Saturday, and I haven't talked to this farmer in quite a few years now. She sold the farm, and his family still runs it, but he got out of the farming and stuff and helps out, whatever. I mean, those farmers, they never get out of it, truly. You know what I mean? They're so used to doing it, and they would go crazy, I feel like, if they stopped doing it. But sitting there talking to him, and he's like, well, yeah, the big deer, the one big deer that he'll probably find in the subdivision here pretty soon. And it's like, well, yeah, he's already there. He's like, yeah, and then this, that, and the other, and the deer will be over there here soon. It's like, yep. And it's just like he knows the properties over there, he knows the way that those deer are. And same with your property over there. We don't yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's what kind of food plots did you do this year?
So I did one shot plot. I did a bunch of just random stuff, like just to have green. And I did a lot of rye, oats, that type of stuff, because it's just going to be green. It can grow on anything. And then I have a mixture of some turnips in there too for the later months when that corn stuff's cut. And they'll be digging for those turnips. So,
and I feel like that's what kind of just sucks for me too. With the, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword, because obviously I'm grateful to have the property that we do, and last year was the first year we could have hunted it, and we never even hunted it one time. And the farmer's just, yeah, here you go. You can hunt it if you want. If not, then you can, I'll lease it out, whatever. So obviously grateful for that, but there's not like an area to really do anything with. You know what I mean? Like you said, like the food plot might be pointless, but I don't know, man. I feel it, and maybe it's just more of a thought that would attract more deer. But with the ag around like us and stuff, I mean, it might not attract as many deer as I think. But
I mean, starting tomorrow or starting today, when this drops, is like there's going to be 5-10 times as much pressure as there was in the weeks leading up to this, So those deer are going to be totally on edge. They're going to be moving around in different areas. And if you guys haven't put a lot of pressure on that property, which you guys haven't hunted a ton, those deer might feel safer in there, So.
Well, and I will say too, with hunting just the field edges, it is nice because it is a pretty easy in and out situation.
Yeah.
You're not really walking through the middle of a bedding area. Granted, we're walking next to a cornfield, but we're in and out down the lanes on the side, which we're obviously making a little bit of noise from the weeds that are overgrown and stuff, which we could have done a better job this year at that even. But I guess in that standpoint, we're not putting a lot of pressure there, because even the deer. I mean, how are the deer out by you? Like your first year hunting this property, are they pretty pressured deer? Like, are they paying much attention to you?
No, I mean, so I have the 10 acres I can hunt. I got permission for the 10 acres next to me. So I have 20 acres I can hunt, and then I have around me is all factory property, so no one hunts it, or limited people hunt it.
Right.
So the pressure isn't. I mean, I don't have a lot of deer hunting pressure around me, but then you go another 10 acres to the south, and then you go another probably 200 acres to the east. There's people that hunt it, so I'm like hopefully with all the little pressure I'm putting on back on my property, is that those deer are going to feel safer once the Orange Army comes into the woods here today. So
that's what's nice about the property that I have now too. The one guy I know pretty well. He might have hunted once or twice this year so far, and that's it. Older guy, gets out when he can, he does whatever. So he's not out there shooting every single deer. And the guys behind us, I mean, I've never seen anything back there. From what I know, they've only hunted it the one time when the corn was getting shelled. And there was a guy to the north of me in like a tiny, tiny little woodlot that I used to see his Jeep out there all the time, and I haven't seen it once this year. The lady that used to live there passed away, and I don't know if he lost the rights to hunt over there or what. I don't know, but I don't think there's a lot of pressure by me either. But like I said, with them jumping around woodlot to woodlot as much as they do, it's tough. But I don't know. Like our deer this year, they're not even looking up at us. Like they got no care in the world. They're bedding down behind us. We get out of the stand, like at dark or whatever. They'll stand up, stare at it. They're like park deer almost. They'll stand up, stare at us.
Which is perfect.
And walk.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. As long as, I mean, it'd be a lot better if they were, the deer that we were after. Because for me right now, it's hard to shoot a doe when you never know what's behind it,
Yeah. Well, it probably helps they have a 20 pounds of corn out there, right?
Yeah, right. Right. I don't know. What's your thought process on that? Not that I'm saying like the thought process of me having 20 pounds of corn out there, but what's your thought process of like the Michigan baiting rules?
I think the reason behind it is invalid. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a very big science guy when it comes to deer hunting and all the different viruses and stuff like that can be contracted with it. Because, I mean, look at every other state in Michigan, other state in the country that has baiting. I mean, they have the. Why am I blanking on the name of the disease? Why am I blanking?
EHD.
EHD. I mean, all other states have it, and they don't have the issues. I think we had a couple different areas in Michigan that got hit really hard with it.
I think middle of the state got hit, probably one of the hardest, and then I think way up north got hit pretty good.
Yeah.
North.
Which I mean, I feel like there's other, like up north, like you're dealing with wolves. Which I mean, I understand why you don't want to be baiting up there because you're just giving you're baiting in your deer, which then also are baiting in the wolves because they know that the deer are going to be there. So that's like a hunting ground for them.
Right.
For me, I mean, with the food plots, I mean, you're kind of doing a similar thing that you would with baiting. You're getting them in a certain area where they're going to be eating on the same greens. And then you're going to stop farmers from farming because they're eating on the same corn cobs, stuff like that.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, that's just, it's even if there's not ag in the area, they're still licking the same branches or whatever they're doing. I mean, it's still going to be it's still going to get spread through everything. It's just.
Which, I mean, I think with the no baiting, I think it's deterring people, which for some people it's like, heck yeah, let's get less hunters out there because then I can shoot that monster buck every year. But then
in reality,
some of those people where for us, we're trying to advocate for more people to be in the woods, this and that.
Right.
I think it deters them because people who don't know the ins and outs and they used to just go out and throw a bag of corn out and kill a deer, like they're like, shoot, I can't deer hunt anymore, which I know what people are going to say is like, oh, well, we got to do your research, got to do this and that. Well, it's like some people don't have the time, some people have the money to go out and research and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
100%. Or
I mean, I'm probably more against baiting, but I understand in some cases where baiting would be okay, like the minerals and stuff like that. I don't see an issue with that, or like off-season baiting and stuff like that. But
yeah, that's what's. I mean, I don't know, because the mineral thing, which obviously we can talk about this for a while, but the mineral thing, I mean, yeah, what's kind of different between the mineral and just corn or sugar beets out there?
I think the minerals have more of the
Nutrients?
necessities for like antler growth, bone growth, stuff like that, because they make those minerals for that. Like they have scientific people out there that are making these blends to help grow bigger deer. So that's where I would say like your after season, when it's January 1st, that second, you can start putting out minerals up until maybe that month before season, but then you're going to have those minerals in the ground. Those deer are going to be back there during the season anyways. So it's like one of those things where it's a catch-22 or catch-21, whatever it's called.
Right.
So I mean, I see the benefit in the minerals just because it does help the deer versus corn where you're just feeding them, giving them food.
I feel like in a long point, or in reality too, I mean, it's taking a lot of money out of people's hands. I mean, look at all the gas stations or the mom and pop shops that are out there that were selling corn or sugar beets or carrots or whatever it was.
They're still selling them though, so that's the people are still baiting. I mean,
they're baiting
besides the point, but dude. I mean, you're baiting in moderation versus they're instead of going out and dumping out a trailer full of corn or beets or apple mulch.
Have you seen any activity from like planes coming over, like the grid searching planes, I'd call them?
I mean, I don't know what determines if it's a DNR plane or not, but I know people that have been caught from the planes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot has to do with like if you're completely obvious, or sometimes they go through with their thermals and they'll like, there's a big cluster of deer in this one area. I wonder why.
I was gonna say, if you got every single deer in the county around one little spot.
Yeah, which like tomorrow's going to be the big like. I bet you all the gas stations are going to be sold out of stuff because people are going to be coming up buying their bags of corn and going out hunting. So this is the DNR's heaven tomorrow. Is they're going to be coming out and finding people with all the bags of corn and beets and stuff like that.
And that's one thing I do. I mean, I do miss like when we're growing up and stuff coming up for opening day, and I don't know. It's obviously super nice to be able to hunt as close as we do to the house, but there's something about, you know, going up north and hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which I'll be heading up tomorrow night and going up and hunting there. So,
well, I
good time.
am going to be taking a little bit of a pee break, so give me a few, but we'll be right back after this little bathroom break of mine. All right, that was the fastest break that I've ever had while doing a podcast. What are we talking about? Bait. A lot of people doing it still, which, I mean, I've heard a few people doing it, and I've talked to people, you know, DNR officers that actually work the planes, but I feel like I've been seeing quite a few that are actually like flying back and forth above me when I've been hunting this year. But I don't know. I don't know how much they really look into that or how much they really go after people like that or for those reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think unless you're blatantly obvious, they're not really hunting you down. Like
Right.
if you're throwing out some minerals and stuff like that, I don't think they're really hunting you down unless you're being completely obvious with it.
And we're not saying to do it, but we're just saying in general.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I don't know. What's, you know, with the property that you have now, you know, it's obviously nice to say it's yours and you can do whatever you want to it. What are some goals for your own property, or what are some future visions that you have for that property?
Talking about like what I'm going to be doing to it?
Yeah, I mean, like, you gonna dig a pond or like some water holes or something? Because I feel like that's getting bigger and bigger every single year. I'm seeing more and more videos of whether it be a tub out there of water or whatever it is, or you know, just in general though. I mean, you cutting down more trees, you put more food plots in, or what's the future hold for the property?
Like we talked about earlier, I'm going to be putting in some apple trees. I've been starting to clear out a spot behind. You haven't been to my place yet, but there's 2 pole barns in the back behind my house here. So I'm going to be clearing out a spot to probably put between like 20, 25 apple trees back there. And then kind of leave that as is like that, just the apple trees, then kind of hunt around that, which will take a few years, of course, to get apples on it. But,
right.
And then I have an area towards the back of my property, which is more swampy areas. So I'm looking at potentially clearing out a spot back there where I'm going to put in some turnips, stuff like that, to where it's more huntable, because a lot of that stuff is so thick where the deer don't even want to move through it.
Really?
With those, not the cattails, what's the other thing called? Phragmites?
Phragmites, yeah. Yeah,
so those are crazy back behind my house. So I want to try to take some of those out, make it more accessible for the deer to be working through there. So that's kind of hopefully my springtime goals. And then kind of seeing how that plays out, where, I mean, of course I want to have some condos back there, more tree stands, stuff like that, to make it where I can hunt every inch of my property. But the big thing is just knowing it better, you know, figuring out where the deer are at, make it so we can access it more, like for just fun times with golf carts, with the dogs, stuff like that. I mean, the other day I was walking back in from my hunt and I'm like, there's a pallet blind right there. Like I've never seen it before. And there's like just an old pallet blind that I just at the right angle, I could see it. And I walked, and like, there's like a little half of a pallet blind. I'm like, what the heck? And it was in the weirdest spot. And I'm like, huh, okay.
That's strange.
But it's just like, like finding new things with my property. Like I found a stand a couple weeks ago that I hadn't found before that the guy left me up in one of the trees. So it's just trying to learn the property better. I think that's the biggest thing in making it. I'm trying to be able to use every inch of my property. That's the biggest thing for me is I want to be able to hunt every inch of it. I want to be able to access every inch of it. So that's kind of the big goals for me is like seeing how my dad did with his properties, my grandpa did with his properties, and being able to kind of model it after that to be able to use every inch of it.
Right. And be able to, even play the winds, because that's even a big thing for us where what do we have? 2 tree stands at our property and the one blind, but it's like, you got one wind and there's not really a good tree. I guess there's one tree stand that's more of like just there's like a bean field right to our right, and there's not a lot of woods behind us compared to like the ones that are further in. That the woods are, we're right in the heart of the woods, or right at, like obviously in the field edge, but like we're right there. That's the one thing that kind of sucks for us is not knowing the property the way we should, and not really. We could be screwing ourselves over and not even know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I guess for you with being new with your property, have you talked to the neighbors around you?
Yeah, I mean the one guy, I know we goose on his property, and I think he only shot 1 deer last year. He's the older guy that I was talking about. Super nice guy, and maybe his son and his granddaughter will go out once in a while, but I think they're living out of state now or something, and so they don't get out much. But I know he's got a couple blinds out there, and even shed season, which I got like the permission to walk his property back there, and then the neighbor's property in between us, and there's I seen 2-3 blinds maybe in that whole property last spring when I was shed hunting. So I mean, there's not a lot of pressure in that standpoint. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I found with like the bedding and that little pond back there and stuff. But there, it gets pretty flat where I'm at, so it's kind of hard to, I don't know. It's pretty standard property, I guess.
Yeah.
But what do you think about like the pools or the ponds that people have been putting in for their deer properties?
I do think it's good, especially if you don't have any water sources around you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the properties that I've hunted before have some type of water source on it, whether it be a pond or a creek or a river that run through it. But I know a lot of people that have major success with the early season hunting with those ponds. I mean, a lot of areas, like I can't remember what states they are, but they have like the September velvet hunts and stuff like that, where they do a lot of their success over those water sources, or when that pre-rut hits and it's still hot out in October, like those water sources are key because those deer have to go and get water. So, I mean, for me, I probably will end up doing one because, I mean, I found one out back where they had a pond, like had a little tub out back. So I'm just going to have to be more strategic with it where I put it at. But I definitely think utilizing it would be a big help, especially early season for scouting with those deer coming to those water sources and kind of seeing what deer you have. So I do think it's a good idea.
I mean, I guess that's the thing too, where I look at that property that we have and everything that we would do out there, like whether if we do the food plots next year, which I think next year is going to be beans out there. I believe it's going to be beans, or it might be just like a cover crop for the year, and for the nutrients. I don't know what the plan is, but the food plots would be an attractant. If we had like a little pool out there or whatever and buried it and whatever it was, like that would be another attractant, like wanting the deer wanting to be there more compared to what we have now. But like I said, that might be just all mind games for myself. I don't know.
I mean, I think the things you're saying will definitely help. It's just
how much
you haven't done it before, and it's just knowing what it's going to do to those deer. Because I mean, I remember at Rachel's parents' place there, the first year I was out there and he started deer hunting after he came up to my place, killed a nice buck. He hunted it, didn't do any food plots. The next year after that, I came down and we helped him. I put him in 2 different food plots in certain areas, and it totally messed up the whole deer. What the deer did there, like totally messed it all up. He didn't see like anything.
Really?
Then the next year after that, we did the same thing again, and he killed one of his biggest bucks off that property. So it's just like you do all these things to it, it's going to affect the deer because that's going to be a change to them that they're not used to. But it's gonna, if you do it again and again and again, it's become more useful. Like putting up that ground blind, like that ground blind being there probably this year isn't the greatest thing because the deer aren't used to it. But if you have that ground blind in the same exact spot next year, and the year after that, those deer become more used to it, just like how box blinds are. Like you have the most blatantly obvious box blind, but deer come up to it and deer go out in the food plot. Deer do this, do that because they're just like, it's just there. They're used to it. So.
And that's one thing that which was kind of tough for me because we didn't really brush that thing in. It was kind of one of those things where we got it in before season and they started getting used to it. And, every deer that we have had on camera has been around that blind so far. And it's one of those redneck blinds, I think it is, where it's like you got the windows that slide up on, like you can unzip the windows and it be completely open, but then we have little sliding windows inside that you can see through it. So you could have the windows all the way up, I guess you want to say. It's like those new pop-up invisible or the pop-up blinds that I turkey hunt out of where you could see through it.
Is that a tide wide blind or whatever it's called? Or
what we are deer hunting out of, no, but we turkey hunt out of one.
Oh, okay.
But it's the same, kind of thing where you can see out of it, but you can't see in it, So the windows still look like they're open or closed. Which I mean, I don't know. Maybe we needed to do a better job of brushing in and didn't, because I mean, you know how it is, middle of summer or whatever it is, and we got out there a little bit late this year with the tree stand and the blind and stuff, and the corn was already too high where we couldn't drive back there or anything. So we're out there in the middle of the heat, dragging that thing back there and getting it set up, and you set it up and it's like, dude, that's all I'm doing. Like, I'm not doing anything else. I want to go back. I want to get in some AC and cool off for a little bit. But, just like our bird hunting, you got to put the work in to, reap the reward.
Yep. Yep, I agree on that. I also want to bring up something that we both have kind of talked about a little bit when it comes to gun hunting, is this quiet time.
Yeah.
So something that I guess has been going on for a long time, but just something I've never known of. I guess maybe the media's blown up a little bit more than it has been in the past.
Yeah,
but
I've never heard of it either.
What's your thoughts on this quiet time? I mean, it seems to make sense to me on paper. It doesn't affect anything other than rifle hunters. That's the only thing it affects. Like sighting rifles, all that kind of stuff. Doesn't affect waterfowl hunting, small game, bow hunting, this and that. But what are your thoughts on that quiet time?
I mean, in my opinion, it's just kind of weird. Because I mean, your quiet time only involving, rifles or deer hunting weapons, I guess you want to say, or deer hunting guns. What's if we go out squirrel hunting that property, it's still disturbing it. You know what I mean? It's like I just don't see the purpose of it all.
It's a very weird rule that I don't understand why it's in place. I mean, I guess I see the positive impact about it, but I mean,
there's so many.
I could go out and coyote hunt it, and
right?
That's still legal.
Right.
Like I could go out and shoot my 270 at midnight. That's legal.
Right.
But me going out at noon on a weekday where no one's out deer hunting and it's not going to affect the deer at all, that's illegal to shoot to target practice.
That it's just so weird to me. I don't know even why that's even a thing, and maybe somebody listening can message us on Facebook or Instagram and let us know why, or a different viewpoint of it all. But
And I get the reset part of it too. Like I know the woods needs a reset, but if you're not going anywhere in the woods, I mean, and like you said, I could go out and go squirrel hunting, and that has more impact on me going out and putting in a propane heater in my blind, which with the rules from what I've read is like that's illegal too. Like you can't do anything rifle hunting related. So
yeah, but
but like I can go out and waterfall hunt that property. I can go out and squirrel hunt it. I can go rabbit hunt. I can go coyote hunting it. I can go bow hunt it, but I can't go out and put a propane heater in my blind.
Well, okay, so what about the guys that are crossbow hunting, that are hunting the pop-ups or the box blinds and stuff, and they're putting propane tanks in their blinds for that?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Though there's so many contradictions. Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I really don't understand I mean, like this year, I abide by it's the first year I've heard of it, but like in years past, like I can guarantee that I've shot my gun the day before, or no, probably haven't shot the day before, but 2 days before I've shot my gun, you know, because I was late to setting it in, you know, so it's like, it's hard. There's just so many loopholes in this rule, and how they enforce it is just really weird. I just don't understand it, the way they have it set up, you know?
Yeah, so. No, it definitely doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
I don't get it. One thing I do want to bring up too is your bow season this year, dude. You're lucky I wasn't in the blind with you when you passed that one buck up. Which obviously
I've made some questionable passes this year.
Looking back, and especially the deer that you've had on camera now, I mean, obviously, yeah, that's the reason why you did it. But not knowing
that deer was there.
Well, not knowing that what kind of pressure that you have from neighboring properties, or who's shooting what near you. And obviously that's not a reason to just shoot any deer. And that deer that you passed up wasn't just like a small 8 or, you know, a basket deer that'd be good for the field. I mean, it was a nice 9-point. Well, I think it was outside of its ears.
Yeah, it was probably a 15, 16-inch inside spread 9-point.
Especially after you telling me multiple times that you probably shoot anything just to get that itch off your first property and your first deer on your own property. And you passed that up at 5 yards, was it?
5 yards on the ground. Yep.
Yeah, you're dumb.
So, and that leads into another point, which I will die on. I will die taking this to my grave on my standpoint on this, is that I don't care what people shoot out there as long as they have fun doing it, or they have that adrenaline rush, that type of thing. So for me, if I can explain myself and why I passed this deer up. So I had this deer all on camera all summer long, and I was like, this is my number one buck. This is my number one target buck. I didn't have very good pictures of him, but I had enough to where I was like, this deer is a shooter buck. Mm-hmm. Then I got permission on another piece of property that butts up to the back of my property, and I snuck back in there one night because I knew he was somewhere in that area from scouting at that midday the day before. So I snuck back in there, and right before dark, I have some crunching coming through the cattails, and I was already set up because I was where they were going to cross by me. I was going to be very close, and I didn't want to have any other movement besides me just pulling my bow back.
Right.
And I look over, and there's that 9-point right there at like 20 yards coming out of the cattails, walking right at me. And of course, I'm like, I'm going to shoot him. But he stopped behind a bush, and I had to have turned, and it was very quiet that day. So being in the cattails, crunchy cattails, like if I would move anything, he would have heard me and took off. So I got to watch him at 10 yards for 15 minutes. And I got to analyze every single part of that deer. So I got to analyze his face. I got to analyze his antlers, his body. And from what I saw, he was a 2.5-year-old buck that had very good genetics. He was pencil thinned antlers, which I couldn't tell from the pictures, or like I probably could have tell if I would have looked at it more, but just from seeing it up close in person like that, it's like you get a different feel. Like, you know, you get that where you shoot a deer with a rifle at 100 yards and like, crap, that deer's smaller than I thought it was.
Right.
this would have been that type of deer for me with the bow. It was like, crap, that this deer is a lot smaller than I thought it was from that camera picture. So I got to analyze him at 10 yards. And I told myself I wasn't going to shoot him. I said, after watching him for 15 minutes, I go, I think I'm going to shoot him. And I'm like, if he takes one more step, I'm going to shoot him. Well, he decided to take one more step, and I'm like, I just can't shoot him. Like, I didn't have no buck fever, which was a telltale sign for me I shouldn't shoot that deer. I had no adrenaline rush. I was stone cold. Like, with deer in the past, where with a bow, where I've had them that close for that long, like, my arrow was shaking like crazy. I'm uncontrollable breathing. Like, I was just stone cold. So I was like, this deer ain't worth it. This deer deserves a pass. You know, that's just, for me, is like, if that was a spike horn, I was shaking like crazy, you know, I probably would have shot that deer. You know, like, it's just one of those mindsets where, for me, even though that was a nice buck, I needed to pass that deer. So,
well, like I said, it's also how you grew up, though, too, with the property that your dad's got up north there, and the deer that you guys are shooting up there. I mean, yeah, obviously would have been a great first deer for the property. Did you do the right thing in deer management aspect? Absolutely. But, you know, it's still that first deer of your new property, and that would have been a good one for it. But I also understand, like, that's like the same, that turkey that we seen when you came down, like, opening weekend, I think it was this past spring. Like, I think I missed it like a day or two after you left.
mm-hmm.
And it was like, why did I even shoot at that turkey? Because, like, it was kind of a poke with the shells I was using. But it was like I wasn't even shaking. It wasn't coming in hammering and spitting and drumming or whatever. And it's like, and that's why I feel like, you know, we talk about even the deer at my property. You know, I obviously haven't shot. I think I've only ever shot 5 deer in my life. And the biggest one was like a 5-point. God, I don't know how many years ago. But, you know, I passed up a small little, I mean, he wasn't tiny, but passed up an 8-point. And it's like, man, if I was up north south the property, that would have been like a great buck to shoot at up there. Like, why? But it's like the same thing. It's like, there was nothing really to it for me. Like, there's a nice little young buck there. He'd be a great one for the next year, or, you know, for my sister's standpoint, like, you know, let her shoot it, or for her first deer. And it's tough.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing, is you got to be happy with the deer you shoot. Like, and I give you a lot of crap, because it's like, I know you've only killed like 2 deer in your life, and the biggest one's been a 5-point.
Right.
So I'm like, if you have a fast direct 8-point come in, blast that thing. You know, like, that's like that's the mindset. It's like, I want you to kill deer, so then you get to that mindset of where you're passing up those bigger deer, but you're already in that mindset. You know, because that's kind of unfortunately, that's our culture right now with deer hunting, is like, if it's not a 120, 130 inch deer in Michigan, you're looked down on. And that's the sad thing about hunting nowadays, especially in the deer hunting aspect of things, is like, I see people out there that they go out and they shoot two decent 8-points. And it's like, people are bashing them. It's like, why'd you shoot the same deer twice? Like, why'd you shoot this 2 types of same deer? It's like, that dude's happy with those 2 deer.
Right.
And that goes into another subject of whether Michigan should have 1 buck tag or not. Like, that's a whole other topic we could talk for hours about. But
right. Well,
as long as that person's happy, he goes out and shoots that spike horn, he goes out and shoots that fork horn. I mean, I'm happy for that person. You know, like, they don't have to kill a 140, 150 inch whitetail to be happy.
And I think social media is the same way, like, even with, like, the waterfall standpoint of it all. Like, you don't shoot a pilot, you suck. And if you don't shoot a 150 class buck, you suck. You know what I mean? Like, it's like people get in their heads too much and fall into that social media trap that, you know, I don't want to shoot this because then if I post it, even though I'm happy about it, then so-and-so's going to make fun of me for it. And it's like, dude, who cares, man? Well,
and that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when I go on those hunting pages and the people's like, not my biggest buck, but I'm happy. Like,
who
like,
cares?
you know, it's a nice, I'm like, dude, like, why you have to prove yourself? Like, you're happy with this deer. Like, people should be happy for you for killing that deer. It's an accomplishment to kill a whitetail, to kill an animal. You know, it takes time. It takes skill.
I seen one comment on one of the pages on Facebook the other day. A kid shot a second deer, and the guy was dogging him for how big it was. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me right now? Like, you're taking time out of your day to respond to a young kid's second deer of his life and telling him how small of a deer that was. I mean, it was a either a basket 6 or a basket 8, which I'm saying basket, like not like a tight rack. Like it was like
just a year and a half old.
Yeah, maybe a 2-year-old with not a lot of nutrients around or whatever, not growing properly, whatever it is. But it's like, why are you taking your time out to dog on this kid that is happy about shooting his deer and was happy enough to even post something about it and try to, you just shot that kid right down.
Yeah.
Like,
no, and that's my biggest thing with like the deer hunting. On the deer hunting side of things is like, there's so many new hunters out there. Cause I mean, for a lot of cases they're going for food. And that's kind of from my standpoint why like I'm at a different stage where I consider to be at than you with deer hunting, where like I'm trying to kill a 115, 120 inch whitetail or better, a 3.5-year-old deer and better. Where like on the outside for waterfowl, like I'm happy with 2 or 3 birds, but like on your side for deer hunting, like you want to kill a 2-year-old nice 8-point and you're gonna be happy with that, but then you want to kill 20 birds, like that's kind of like the different areas of hunting we're at. And you're not dogging on people for not meeting those standards, but that's just the standards you have set, but you're happy for other people that are going out and doing those things even if they don't meet your standards.
Right. It's all tough, man.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, can you say that? I mean, I'm not going to be a little bit. I'm going to be happy for the person to his face, but then be kind of upset when he goes out and kills a 1.5-year-old 8-point that I've been passing up. Yes, I'll be upset, but at the same time, it's like that dude's happy about it. Like
it's hunting. I mean, that is one thing that's tough. Like but it goes back to the same stuff that I preach for waterfowl hunting. It's communication with your neighbors and getting to know your neighbors and what they're shooting and what you're passing up or what they're passing up and just being able to talk to people around your area and, being able to work as a team. You might have that guy that only goes out once or twice a year and shoots whatever he sees to fill his freezer up and, so be it. It is what it is. He's doing it for a reason. But then you got guys, that are going out there every weekend, they can pick and choose because they got 180s running around their property, so they're going to pass up to $130. But those 130s could be trophy deer for other people.
I'm shooting 130 all freaking day.
You get what I'm saying, though. It's like these people don't understand like the circumstances that some people are like dealing with. Like we said, like time, money, whatever it may be. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to travel right to their backyard or a half hour away to their hunting property. They got to travel 3-4+ hours, and maybe they only get up there once a year or whatever it is.
And or they're just starting, like they're the person that's dogging that person been hunting for 20 years and he's killed enough spike horns and 4-points now where he's killing is he's looking for that mature whitetail, where someone who's just starting out, they don't care. They want to experience what it's all about to be a deer hunter, which not all the time is killing an animal, but
right,
it's a big part of it,
No, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. But before we get off here, I want to talk about one more thing before we get off here, and that's safety, which I am on your ass about. I feel like with wearing a safety harness and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it comes into a new thing now with rifle season, with wearing orange and stuff like that. I think I've had 2 people in the past 2 weeks that have fallen out of tree stands and have been severely hurt. So I think from me, my big standpoint is always wearing a safety harness, whether it be setting up tree stands.
Yeah, speak for yourself, hunting. Bud. No.
So
you know what I'm talking about, setting up tree stands, though.
What's that?
I said, you know what I'm talking about with setting up tree stands and safety. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I may have fallen out of a tree stand one time, but
to come from the guy that's safety. No, but that is a big thing, which I have been, stupid about. Like the last time I hunted that stand, I didn't even mean to hunt that stand. It was just like one of those things where it's like, oh, there's 2 fresh scrapes right here. Let me just jump in here real quick. But, we do have the harness at the house. I just need to grab it next time I go out there. And, either just,
Yeah.
you know.
So, I mean, you never know what might happen. I mean, for me, my favorite place to take a nap at is in a deer blind or in a tree stand, just because I feel most relaxed and most comfortable. So
Right.
that's for me. Is I always wear a safety harness, because I've had multiple times where I've fallen asleep and woken up leaning forward. Which the person that I knew that just fell out of the tree stand last week, he fell out of a tree stand 20 feet in the air. Um, he woke up as he was falling out of the tree stand midair. So
Man.
he's lucky to be alive, but I know in other circumstances where the person isn't so lucky enough. So just when you're thinking about going out in the woods, wear your orange, know what you're shooting at, wear a safety harness if you're in a tree stand. Hopefully you've checked your deer blinds before tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And know if it's sturdy, know if it's not rotted out on the boards, stuff like that. Just be safe. Think about your family, stuff like that. So,
Or if a raccoon's gonna come out running at you.
true. I've definitely had that before, where I've walked into a deer blind and there's been glowing eyes looking at me through the door. So,
Surprise.
just be conscious of that. So we don't want to see anyone lose a life doing something that's fun. So
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point to hit on, as this is coming out on opening day. And for the people that are listening and that are even maybe not even going hunting today and waiting to the weekend, but just in general. I mean, it's not just this weekend, it's all year.
yeah, it's doing anything, I mean, just be conscious. There's other, especially if you're hunting state land. I mean, private land's a little bit different, but hunting state land, please wear orange. Please be safe. Know you're shooting at, 'cause there's other people out there in the woods. So
That's for sure.
we want everyone to come back safe. So,
well, then even for the listeners or the people, that have us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, if you do harvest anything tomorrow or within the week or even the season wise, send us over some pictures. I mean, we're not shy.
tag us in the post. We'll get you up on our story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'd like for people, that I'm starting to get more and more feedback with the podcast, which is super nice, because at first, we switched the podcast over and, it's like, man, do people even really like listening to this stuff? And then, you start hearing about how long they've been listening to or where they're from, and they're still listening to it. And it's always nice. So if you guys do have feedback or topics that you want us to talk about in the near future, bring it up to us. I mean, we're always open to what you guys want to hear. I would even think it'd be cool to do like a questionnaire, like get a bunch of questions on social media and just do a podcast over whether deer hunting, fishing, largemouth, smallmouth, or water. Did I say waterfowl? Maybe not. Waterfowl, deer, fishing, whatever. I think that'd be super cool to do. And like I said, the feedback helps out a lot for us to, keep on going with this all. And, we're constantly learning and trying to grow this whole thing and interact, I guess, or touch the topics that people are learning or wanting to learn, or having the questions that, there's been times where I look up on YouTube or ask somebody and don't find anything, or the person's like, what, are you stupid or whatever, and that's the kind of stuff that we want to be able to teach people. And I don't know, doesn't matter how silly the question might seem, we're here to help everybody out.
I agree. But on the flip side too, if we want to do these questionnaires and stuff like that, we need some participation too. So if you have questions, and just ask us, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Or if you have something you're like, we heard you say this on the podcast, we don't really agree with it, and you have something for us, let us know. We'll chat about it. We'll give you our side of the story of why we feel that way.
Or hell, we might even do like a 10-minute segment or whatever, and maybe, post a podcast on that, even like get you in or get you on the phone for the podcast and talk about that topic in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so other people that aren't talking or speaking out about certain ways of feeling towards something that we say or do or whatever, everybody will be able to learn, because I mean, nobody knows everything about this whole hunting world and each little thing. It's cool to see and interact with people from all over that we've talked to on here and how they do it compared to us and what they do that we could be doing better. And, you know, it's always a positive for us.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Also want to, you know, obviously shout out the sponsors with GK Calls, Gator Decoy guys, and Migra. I know Dakota with Gator Decoys. He's been out quite a bit deer hunting. I talked to him the other night. But no, big shout out to those guys. And Trav, you got anything else for us?
I think I'm good. I know. I just want to give a shout out to Mike from Flipping Birds Kid. He killed a nice buck a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. Killed a nice one. My dad killed a nice 6-point last weekend. So there's some big deer in Michigan falling. So I know we're not known for the big deer, but if you've been following along with some of those outdoor pages, there's some giant deer getting killed this year. So get out in the woods. If you have anything for us, any questions, feel free to hit us up on our personals or on the Great Lakes page. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Trav. And good luck to everybody out there, you know, this week or tomorrow or whatever it may be. Shoot straight. And Trav, obviously good luck to you, which we'll be posting from both of our setups tomorrow on our story and stuff. Or today, as you
unfortunately, I will not be out in the woods tomorrow morning. So
I thought you were.
I was supposed to be, but then something happened, and now I can't. So I will be very upset with myself sitting in a networking group at 7:00 in the morning tomorrow. So
well, leave it up to the waterfowl hunter to be out there deer hunting.
But Thursday through Monday, I will be in deer blind. So
I'll be out there. I mean, depending on what's going on with us, I got tomorrow through Monday off, so hopefully I'll be able to get out there and then, you know, bird hunt obviously the weekend still and be able to scout a little bit more and get some stuff done around the house, or even just do some deer scouting myself over the next couple of days. And I don't know, hopefully, but no.
Hey, if it's brown, it's down.
I don't know about all that, but whatever.
Brown, it's down.
But no, I appreciate everybody. Good luck out there, and until next time.
See you guys.